It is inevitable not to realize the little to no representation women have had in various fields such as science, art, literature, etc. Even if we might not realize, women created several inventions we use daily, wrote multiple literary works that are considered classics, and created masterpieces. However, if we start thinking of some examples, probably nothing will come to mind. The explanation as to why examples don't come to our mind is because our society has always tried to censor women's merits, only appreciating men.
There are many blank spaces throughout history, and there are many women, mainly Victorian, that confronted prejudices imposed during their lives to fight for the rights they didn't have yet, that we now have thanks to them. They also prove curiosity and achievements are not gender-related.
Where do women appear? How can we find all the achievements made by women? Why were their names erased from textbooks? How many times Anonymous was in fact a woman? These questions, and many others, make us contemplate the inequalities found in the education system and throughout history.
Several important Spanish works of literature are kept anonymous, and, in other cases, some female authors used male pen names when writing was a male-dominated profession to avoid prejudices.
Mary Shelley, ¿no? Sin ir muy lejos, la historia de Frankenstein. Ella no pudo por muchos años decir que la había escrito. Y sí, pues había que adoptar otra identidad para decir que eras escritora, porque si no, ibas a ser juzgada.
Here are some cases of women that had to pretend to be a man to be able to work as or do what they wanted. Isaac Dinesen was not the real author of Out of Africa. It was the pseudonym of the Baroness Karen von Blixen-Feineck. James Miranda Stuart Berry, or rather Margaret Ann Bulkley, pretended to be a man to study medicine at the University of Edinburgh and practice as a surgeon for the British Army in colonies.
Other women made discoveries that were attributed to men, or discoveries that are not recognized enough, such as Nancy Stevens, an American genetics, researched with insects and made a revolutionary conclusion in the world of science. Nevertheless, another man published around the same time she published her work, Edmund Beecher Wilson. And well, it's not hard to deduce who earned all the merit. The very first dishwasher was created by Josephine Cochrane.
Rosalind Franklin was a chemist that helped to clarify the double helix structure of DNA, essential to comprehend life thanks to her research. Her famous photo in which we can verify DNA structure was not recognized enough. This photo will be afterward used by biologists James Watson and Francis Crick to confirm their theory on DNA's double helix. They will both win a Nobel Prize in Medicine in 1962, and nobody mentioned Franklin's work. Marie Curie was another scientist that can attribute herself to be the only woman to win 2 Nobel Prizes, one in chemistry and the other one in physics. She dedicated to studying radiation.
There are some other cases of women that decided to face this inequality situation. An example would be Frida Kahlo. She was a Mexican painter from the 20th century in a world where men were the ones that were given all the praise. Frida not only stood out, but opened many doors to all that women that were sure of themselves and their talent. Frida decided to create her image as if she was a work of art and wanted to focus it on the fight for equal rights. She made her aspect more masculine, allowing and accepting facial hair, and forgot about gender stereotypes that were praised at that time.
Not only Frida was a feminist symbol thanks to her paintings, but also in the political field. She was a Marxism advocate and fought for indigenous people's rights. She actively participated in politics, a role that was almost exclusively assigned to men. She did not follow social rules. She did not play common sports when she was a child, and was a pioneer woman that showed the world the Mexican culture. Although, as expected, it was not a piece of cake.
In several examples we just gave, we can observe how women's work has been overshadowed by men just because of their gender. Sometimes, women had to be the protagonist, but couldn't because of their father or husband. Men assign women's work to themselves, so women's name ends up disappearing, and thus, their contributions and messages.
A study showed the absence of female reference in all ESO contents, with only 7.6% of women being quoted in textbooks. Over time, that lack of female names in textbooks have been decreasing bit by bit thanks to the fight made by women in the past. But why are we stuck with the same problem if our society supposedly does everything possible to make both genders equally valuable? Women are better off today, but still far from being equal with men.
These days, the feminist movement is in a constant emergency. This movement is getting stronger and stronger. Lots of women had to fight for their rights, but it is not until today that they can be taken seriously, as, in the past, women were in a much more difficult situation. They were labeled as witches, and afterward labeled as dumb people that could not be taken seriously without a male's approval. Now that women are not afraid anymore, they are labeled as feminazis, a term linked to the fascism concept, making us notice the ignorance of people.
All these problems are hoped to be solved in the future, but we need a good primary and secondary education. This education must teach kids and teenagers all the different opinions that exist and why, without indoctrinating a belief.